Every culture, every age, has asked the same question. What comes after life? And they've all answered it a little differently. Some imagined gates, others saw rivers. A few pictured fields where those who pass quietly tend their ghost crops forever, because apparently not even death gets you out of agricultural duties. But before we begin, get comfortable, dim the lights, and if you feel like it, drop a comment with where you're listening from and what time it is. I love seeing where this little journey is reaching. Tonight, we're floating across myth and memory, through doorways carved by stories, not stone. This isn't a tour of heaven and hell. Not really. It's weirder than that. Some afterlives offer paradise. Others are endless mazes. Some are suspiciously bureaucratic. And one or two seem to be run by entities who really need a vacation. But wherever we go, whether it's starlit caverns, golden fields, or a swamp filled with crocodile-headed judges, we'll just be quiet guests. So breathe easy. The living world can wait. From here on out, we're crossing into what comes next. Our first stop is warm, breezy, and suspiciously perfect. Welcome to the Elysian fields. If you are a hero, poet, philosopher, or just generally well-liked by the gods, this is where you ended up. Imagine endless meadows with flowers that never wilt, a sky that's always golden, an air that smells like clean linen and wild thyme. You don't feel tired. You don't age. You don't argue about taxes or run out of olives. There are no punishments here, no divine lectures, just eternal peace and maybe a few spirited debates under a cypress tree. Some myths describe banquets with demigods. Others say you could choose to be reborn if you weren't quite done. But many just stay, reclining in the grass, chatting with friends who've been dead for centuries, but haven't lost their charm. And the best part, no judgmental stares for lounging around all day. That's the entire point. You've earned the nap. It's heaven with better architecture, and you never have to hear the phrase eternal torment. But let's not get too comfortable, because not everyone landed in this floral retirement home. In fact, the ancient Greeks had a whole complex afterlife system, including one for people who racked up serious karma and ended up somewhere far less dreamy. So gather your laurels and let's move on to the place where sins get stamped, filed, and processed. Bring your paperwork. Ah yes, welcome to Diyu, the afterlife with bureaucracy. In ancient Chinese belief, this isn't just a fiery pit. It's an underground courthouse system with multiple levels, courts, judges, ledgers, and a terrifyingly efficient filing process. Each soul goes before the court of King Yama, ruler of the underworld, who sits surrounded by a retinue of demonic bailiffs, clerks, and record keepers. Yes, there's a team. Your deeds are reviewed, your sins assessed, your karmic points tallied, and then the tour begins through one or more of Diyu's many levels, each with its own custom punishment. Wading through icy rivers, being crushed under mountains, or having your tongue pulled out if you lied too much. But here's the twist. This isn't eternal. Diyu is more like spiritual rehab. Painful, yes. But the goal is to purge the soul of sin, so it can be reincarnated in better form. Eventually, once you've paid your dues, you get to move on, hopefully upward. The structure of Diyu reflects ancient Chinese values: justice, balance, and accountability. Even the most monstrous acts don't doom you forever. They just delay your journey. Think of it as karmic student loans. But enough paperwork. Let's trade in cold stone halls and flaming scrolls for something louder, a little messier, maybe with a goat on the roof. loud, smoky, and absolutely not OSHA approved. This is Valhalla. If you died honorably in battle, sword in hand, blood on your axe, and a war cry in your throat, you just might get chosen by the Valkyries. They fly down, scoop up your soul, and carry it to Odin's great hall. A vast mead-drenched lodge in the sky, where the floors rumble with feasts and fistfights. Every day in Valhalla, warriors spar, not for survival, but for glory. You die, you heal, you do it again. And at night, you feast. Boar meat magically replenishes itself. A goat named Hadrian on the roof provides bottomless mead. The fire roars, the laughter's loud, and nobody's wearing armor at the dinner table. But Valhalla isn't just a party for the dead. It's training. These chosen souls, the Einherjar, are being prepared for Ragnarok, the final battle between gods and chaos. This is boot camp and afterlife rolled into one. It's not restful. It's not peaceful. But for Viking warriors, it was the dream. Fight forever. Drink even longer. And die with purpose, over and over again. Still, for those less thrilled about daily stabbings, there were other Norse realms for the dead. But before we get to those, let's descend somewhere much darker, where even sunlight doesn't volunteer. Now descending into Xibalba, the Mayan underworld where the dead don't just suffer, they compete. To even reach it, you have to get past rivers filled with blood, scorpions, and sharp rocks. Once inside, it gets worse and weirder. Xibalba is ruled by a dozen lords of death, each specializing in fun little hobbies like disease, decay, and general emotional ruin. You're not simply sent here, you're tested. Trials include pitch-black rooms, hallways of obsidian blades, freezing caves, and hallucinatory illusions. Mess up, and you die, again. Or just dissolve into the underworld, spirit first. The goal isn't punishment exactly, it's transformation. Some souls rise through the trials, others vanish, but all are changed. This is an underworld built like a horror maze with spiritual growth as the exit. Interestingly, ball games were a key part of Xibalba mythology, especially in the Popol Vuh, the Mayan creation text. Lose the game, you're decapitated. Win, still possibly decapitated, but maybe remembered fondly. Xibalba teaches that death is active, that the soul must earn its next step. But honestly, we've spent enough time dodging traps and dodging curses. Let's float up, not all the way into the clouds, but into something deeper, something quieter. Imagine freedom so complete, not even the idea of you remains. That's moksha. In Hindu philosophy, moksha isn't a place, it's a release, an escape from samsara, the endless cycle of birth, death, and rebirth that traps the soul, Atman, in worldly suffering. Most afterlives are destinations. Moksha is more like a dissolve button. You reach it not through violence or martyrdom, but through self-realization, understanding your true nature, letting go of ego, attachment, illusion. You drop your identity like an old coat, and what's left is something vast and infinite. No more karma to burn through, no more lessons to learn. Just union with the Brahman, the ultimate, formless reality behind everything. In this state, you don't float on a cloud or sip from eternal fountains. You just are, everywhere, nowhere, done. It's seen as the highest goal, higher than heaven, higher than being reborn as a king or sage. And for many spiritual seekers, it's the one true purpose of existence. There's no throne waiting for you, no applause, no goat mead, just the calm realization you've left the loop. And that's beautiful. But not everyone reaches moksha. Some souls take a very different route. Let's take the stairs, down. Now, if the Elysian fields were the penthouse suite of the Greek afterlife, Tartarus is the basement they don't mention in the brochure. We descend deeper than Hades itself, into a realm of shadows so thick they feel like walls. The air here presses against your skin. Not just dark, but dense, like the world itself is holding a grudge. Tartarus isn't just for the unlucky, it's for the truly cursed, oath-breakers, betrayers, those who challenged the gods and lost. This is their reward. And for the Titans, banished long ago by Zeus and company, this is their cage, cold, isolated, forgotten. But punishment here isn't just endless fire. It's poetic, tailored, custom-made irony that loops forever. There's Sisyphus, shoving his boulder up the hill just to watch it roll back down. There's Tantalus, chin deep in water he can never drink, with fruit he'll never reach. You don't just suffer here, you get a reminder of why every second. Time doesn't move here. It repeats, it circles, like a myth you can't stop telling. Tartarus isn't about justice, it's about message. Every punishment is a warning carved in shadow. But let's not stay. This place doesn't do visitors. And frankly, that boulder looks like it's rolling our way. Let's move on, somewhere quieter, somewhere dim, but not cruel. We step gently now through the veils of dusk into Yomi, the land of the dead in Shinto belief. This isn't a realm of torment, but it isn't paradise either. It's muted, still, heavy with memory. Yomi lies beneath the world, dimly lit and sealed from the living by a giant rock. The dead here don't scream, they don't sing. They fade, slowly, gently, like ink in water. You don't suffer, you just drift into stillness. The descent into Yomi begins with the food. If you eat while here, you stay. The moment you consume its offerings, you're bound. There's no climbing back to the world above. And it's not without visitors. The goddess Izanami came here first, dying in childbirth. Her husband, Izanagi, tried to bring her back, only to find her changed. Rotten, ashen, tainted by death's stillness. She chased him out, and he sealed the entrance behind him with a boulder, leaving Yomi forever closed. Souls here don't rise or fall. They rest, they linger. It's not cruel, it's not kind, it just is. So bow gently, walk quietly, and if you must look back, don't. Let's move now from shadows to something sharper, colder, filled with obsidian and wind. Say hello to Mictlan, but say it fast. You've got 9 levels to get through. In the Aztec world view, most souls didn't just arrive somewhere. They journeyed through a long, perilous path beneath the earth. Mictlan was the final destination, but getting there, that was the test. The journey lasted 4 years. It wasn't based on sin or virtue, just fate. You'd pass through mountains that crashed together like jaws, through icy winds that stripped the soul, through rivers filled with knives, and at each step you were watched, but you weren't alone. If you'd been kind to animals in life, especially dogs, one might guide you across the most dangerous river. A silent ferryman with paws, proof that kindness carries weight, even in death. There were no feasts here, no rewards. Mictlan was where souls found rest after surviving the journey. No punishment, just stillness, earned the hard way. Some other deaths led elsewhere. Warriors who died in battle, they joined the sun. Women who died in childbirth, honored like heroes. But the majority made this long walk across obsidian and fog toward rest. So take a breath shake off the knives, and let's rise towards something softer, something bright. Imagine the calmest place you've ever been. Now stretch that into eternity. This is the Pure Land. In Mahayana Buddhism, particularly in traditions like Pure Land Buddhism, the goal isn't just escape, it's preparation. The Pure Land is a realm created by the Buddha Amitabha, a place so peaceful, so pure, that anyone born here is practically guaranteed enlightenment in their next life. It's not heaven, not in the judgmental, reward-based sense. There's no punishment, no sin, just clarity. Here the ground is made of precious stones. The air vibrates with chanting. Lotus blossoms float in shimmering lakes. Time doesn't vanish, but it loses its urgency. And you're not alone. You're surrounded by others, all practicing, all readying themselves to awaken. Some came from lifetimes of devotion. Others arrived by simply calling Amitabha's name with sincere faith. Even those lost in darkness could be reborn here, if their final thoughts turn toward compassion. It's not a reward, it's an opportunity, a breath between lives, a space to rise. Here, death is not an end. It's a new beginning, with fewer distractions and far more lotus petals. But not every vision of the afterlife is so serene. Let's descend once more into something vivid and medieval. Let's take a detour downward. It's time for Dante's Inferno, medieval Christianity's most detailed disaster tour. In Dante Alighieri's Divine Comedy, hell is no vague fire pit. It's organized, structured, 9 circles, each tailored to a sin. Lust, blown around by stormy winds. Gluttony, stuck in freezing sludge. Fraud, boiled alive. It's less eternal punishment and more poetic punishment. Irony turned up to 11. The deeper you go, the worse it gets. Traitors end up in a frozen lake. And in the center of it all, Satan himself, gigantic, winged, and gnawing on history's worst traitors. Not ruling, not roaring, just chewing. What makes this hell terrifying isn't chaos, it's order. Suffering is scheduled. Punishment is precise. It's a moral warning wrapped in epic poetry. Dante didn't invent hell, but he sure illustrated it with flair. His version inspired paintings, sermons, and probably a few nightmares. It's not scriptural, it's literary, but its impact shaped imaginations for centuries. Let's surface now, brush off the frost, and aim for something warmer and much farther away. We step out of firelight and onto something much softer. Warm sand beneath your feet, waves rolling in a rhythm older than memory. This is Pulotu, the afterlife found in many Polynesian traditions, particularly among the Tongans, Samoans, and other island cultures. It isn't a place of punishment or reward. It's more like a return, a gentle homecoming. Pulotu isn't located in the clouds or beneath the earth. It's often imagined as far across the ocean or deep below its surface, a realm for the spirits of chiefs, nobles, priests, and the wise. But it isn't exclusive. Many believe all the dead can eventually reach it, if their journey is guided right. Here, the dead continue life in peace. They fish, they farm, they feast. The breeze is always soft. The night sky is always clear. The ancestors are near, but never intrusive, like old friends watching with pride. There's no fiery judgment, no trial by torment. Just rest, continuity, maybe a little celebration. The god Hikuleo is said to rule here in some versions, sitting quietly in a realm where time doesn't rush. In others, Pulotu is less of a kingdom and more of a dream space, flexible, shifting with belief. Some say it's under the sea. Others say it's beyond the horizon. Either way, it's not a place you fear. It's a place you hope for. It's one of the rare afterlives that feels like a reward without competition. No scales, no sins, no battles to win. Just a return to calm waters and the gentle company of those who came before. But we can't linger. The sea falls away, and a narrow bridge appears in the mist. Time to test your balance. Now step carefully. The path ahead is thin, and the air hums with waiting. This is the Chinvat Bridge, the Zoroastrian crossing between life and what comes next. It's not made of stone or wood, but of judgment. In Zoroastrian belief, your soul lingers for 3 days after death. On the 4th, it travels to this bridge, where your thoughts, words, and deeds are measured. 3 celestial beings meet you. They don't speak. They simply see. And what they see determines everything. If your life was righteous, lived with good thoughts, good words, and good actions, the bridge widens. It becomes smooth, welcoming. You cross to the house of song, a realm of light, warmth, and harmony. But if your deeds were cruel, dishonest, or selfish, the bridge narrows to a blade. You slip. And below waits Druj Damana, the house of lies, a shadowy realm where you're not tortured, but surrounded by the consequences of your own life. Every cruelty returned, every lie heard again. It's not eternal for all. Some souls are purified and rise later, but for others, the fall is deep. The bridge isn't fair because it's merciful. It's fair because it doesn't lie. You don't get a guide or a second try. You just walk, and what you carry carries you. We've balanced across that edge. Now let's step down gently into the tall grass and winding waters of a more familiar vision. Welcome to Aru, the field of reeds, the ancient Egyptian dream of what comes next. Here, the sky is always gold. The Nile glides quietly, and if your heart was judged lighter than a feather by the goddess Maad, you are here now, reborn into perfection. But let's rewind. First, there was death. Then came the weighing, your heart on one side of the scale, a feather on the other. If it passed the test, your ka, your spirit, crossed through a series of gates guarded by gods with crocodile heads and falcon wings. Only then did you reach this paradise. And what did you find? Not clouds, not choirs, but farming, familiar routines. A version of Egypt without injustice or hunger. The fields are endless, the soil always fertile. You plant, harvest, and rest, surrounded by family, guided by gods, and warmed by the sun. There's work, yes, but it's good work. The kind that keeps you grounded, even after death. And here, even time moves differently, slowly, kindly. You're not waiting for anything. You've already arrived. Let's not drift too far, though. The air is shifting, drier, harsher. Another realm approaches, and it isn't made of gold. The ground beneath your feet begins to crack. Welcome to Jahannam, the Islamic concept of hell. Though that word doesn't quite capture its complexity. It is not one place but 7 layered levels, each deeper, each more severe, reserved for different souls, depending on the life they lived or failed to live. Those who mocked the truth, those who inflicted pain, those who turned away from mercy, all find their level. The Quran describes it vividly. Burning winds, boiling water, guardians with iron rods, and a place where even skin grows back to feel again. But this isn't chaos. Jahannam is deeply ordered. Every punishment fits the action. And for many, it isn't forever. It's a cleansing, a hard reset. The souls of the faithful, Even those who stumbled may rise again, purified. There are trees here, but they bear no fruit. There are rivers, but not of water. Everything that comforts in life is reversed. Still, there is mercy. Always the possibility that God forgives. That grace opens a door. For now, let's pass through the smoke and emerge somewhere older, stranger, familiar only through myth and marble. The road forks. A ferryman waits. This is the Roman underworld, adapted from the Greek, but built like a government building. You'll need a coin, placed on your eyes or in your mouth at burial. Karen doesn't row for free. No coin. You wait on the riverbank for 100 years. Bureaucracy, even in death. Once aboard, you cross the Acheron. Then come choices. If you lived with virtue, especially Roman style, duty, honor, discipline, you might find yourself in Elysium, a peaceful realm of art, music, and debate. But if your life was full of betrayal or cruelty, Tartarus awaits again. Deeper, darker, and even more structured than the Greek version. Most, however, end up in the fields of asphodel. No torment, no reward, just fog. You wander, forget, become a shade among shades. The Roman afterlife is cleanly labelled, but emotionally ambiguous. You exist, just not as you once did. It's less about justice and more about order, an empire that continues after breath. Let's leave a coin on the altar, just in case. Because next, we enter a place where nothing makes sense. And that's exactly the point. The drums fall quiet now. We kneel by water. This is Gwynedd, the sacred land beneath the waves, where the dead rest in Haitian Vodou belief. It's not a place you sail to or dig down into. It's spiritual, hidden, real in a way that isn't about maps. Gwynedd lies across the Kalunga line, the symbolic boundary between the world of the living and the realm of the dead. It's often imagined as being beneath the ocean or far away across it. To reach it, your soul must be guided by the LWA, the spirits who walk between realms. In Gwynedd, the ancestors aren't gone. They're resting, watching, waiting to be remembered in dance, in prayer, in rhythm. The dead live on through ritual, called forth through ceremony, music, and devotion. In this way, Gwynedd isn't an ending, it's a foundation. A place souls go to become ancestral, not absent. No fire, no torment, just sleep, soil, and song. And when the rites are right, spirits may return, not as ghosts, but as presence, as wisdom, as protection. The Baron stands watch here, a trickster and guardian both, guiding the dead and laughing in the face of fear. He knows death isn't final, just the next verse in a song older than empires. We leave the drums behind now, letting them echo softly beneath the waves, and head north toward a much colder sky. We hike into the mountains, where the snow whispers and the wind smells like lichen and wood smoke. This is Saivo, the afterlife of the Sami people, hidden behind mountains or deep under lakes. It's not gloomy, it's not loud, it's a reflection of the world above, only better. In Sami belief, when you die, your soul travels to Saivo, a mirrored land with green valleys, abundant game, and no hunger. It's often imagined as being reached through sacred sites, lakes, cliffs, mountaintops, places the Noaidis, shamans, could access in trance or ritual. Saivo is not a place of judgment, it's continuity. Here, the ancestors still hunt and herd reindeer. They live in goatis, traditional tents, and care for their families from the other side. Some say Saivo has 2 sons. Others say it lies just beneath the thin veil of this world. visible to reindeer sometimes, if the sky is right. There are no punishments here, just peace, warmth, familiar stars in a more generous sky. But to find Saivo, you must live with balance, with respect for land, spirit, and kin. It's not a reward you earn. It's a harmony you return to. Let's quietly leave this mountain world now and drift across oceans and centuries toward a belief where time bends and dreams speak. There's no straight path here. We're not walking forward. We're walking through. This is the dreaming, or chukupa, the spiritual framework of many Australian Aboriginal cultures. It's not just an afterlife. It's everything. In these beliefs, the world was shaped by ancestral beings during the dreaming, a time before time, and those spirits still exist in the land, the rivers, the sky. When a person dies, their spirit returns to the dreaming, becoming part of that ongoing flow. Some spirits rejoin their totemic ancestor. Others return to a specific place, a watering hole, a tree, a rock formation, believed to hold their story. This isn't symbolic. These places are the people. The land is memory, and memory is alive. Death isn't a departure. It's a shift, a return to the songlines, invisible paths across the continent that carry history, lore, and spirit. Your journey continues in a different form, but always connected to kin, land, and story. The dreaming isn't nostalgic. It's now. It's past and future overlapping like warm winds, and it holds the soul gently, not in a box, but in a pattern. Let's move with that wind now, toward Europe, and a culture of crossroads and quiet wanderers. A fire crackles low. The caravan is still, but something stirs. This is the Romani view of the afterlife, a tapestry woven from many threads, ancient Indian roots, Christian overlays, and deeply held folk beliefs passed down through generations. There's no single Romani doctrine about the afterlife, but many speak of the mulo, the spirit of the dead, who lingers if not properly honored. These spirits don't haunt in malice. They drift, they worry, they wait for remembrance. To pass peacefully, rituals must be followed. Objects may be burned to prevent attachment. Food might be left out. Words spoken. The goal is balance between the world of the living and the road beyond. Some Romani groups believe in a soul's journey to a paradise beyond the stars. Others imagine a great road, always moving, where the dead travel together, music and memory trailing behind like lanterns. But across beliefs, one idea holds: the dead must not be forgotten. To speak their name is to keep their spirit fed. And so, death in Romani culture is not final. It's another stop on the journey, a quieter camp, a longer rest, but still part of the same road. Let's follow that road just a little further, into shadowed hills and iron rivers. The river is black, the swans don't sing, and the boat has no oars. Welcome to Tuonela, the underworld in Finnish mythology. It lies beyond a dark river, guarded by swans with iron beaks. And once you cross, you don't come back. Here, the dead sleep in silence. No flames, no joy, just stillness, broken only by the slow churn of water and the sigh of wind through pine. Tuonela is ruled by Tuoni and Tuoneta, its king and queen, not cruel, but absolute. They don't judge, they keep. This is not a hell, it's a hush. To reach Tuonela, souls travel in death's boat, sometimes guided by ancient spells. The Kalevala, Finland's great epic, describes brave men sailing here to seek wisdom, only to be nearly trapped forever. The land is not evil, it's simply a part. Cold moss, low fog, echoes of lullabies sung long ago. There's a path through the forest that leads here, but you don't walk it lightly. The dead here don't speak. They settle, they remain. We stand now at the northernmost tip of New Zealand, where land meets endless sea. There's a lone pohutukawa tree clinging to the cliffside. Its roots don't just grip stone. They hold the passage to the afterlife. This is Te Rerenga Wairua, the leaping place of spirits in Maori tradition. When a person dies, their wairua, their spirit, begins a long journey north, guided by ancestral memory. And here, at this sacred point, the spirit pauses, looks back one last time, then leaps into the ocean. But this isn't an end. The spirit dives into the sea, travels underwater to Hawaii, the ancestral homeland. There, it is welcomed, embraced, not erased. No fire, no judgment, just a return, home. The journey is personal, reflective. The spirit might visit loved ones before departing. It might linger by the land it loved, but it always moves toward that cliff, that tree, that place where the earth lets go. Even today, the place is sacred. The path is marked not by signs, but by silence. Let's follow the waves now, drifting away from cliffs, towards something far older and dustier, buried beneath ancient stones. Don't picture fire, picture logic. This is Naraka, the Jain concept of hell. But unlike other hells, this isn't about divine punishment. It's about cause and effect, karma. Jainism teaches that all souls are eternal and equal. But when burdened by negative karma, cruelty, greed, violence, a soul may descend into Naraka, not forever, but for as long as it takes to burn off the weight it carries. There are 7 layers, each colder and darker than the one above. No flames, just ice, stillness, time stretching endlessly. The pain here isn't from torture, it's from disconnection, from being cut off from all that's light, pure, and awake. And yet, it's not hopeless, because in Jainism, every soul, no matter how far it falls, has the potential to rise. Naraka is not damnation, it's purification, earned through rebirth and transformation. Think of it as a deep valley, not a pit, a place you pass through, not fall into. Let's climb back up now, into thinner air and older gods. Before Buddhism reached Tibet, there was Burn, an ancient spiritual tradition rooted in sky, stone, and spirit. In Burn belief, death begins a journey along the Lalung, the wind path. The soul is guided by deities, rituals, and ancestral spirits. Proper rites help the soul move upward. Improper ones, the soul may get lost, lingering as a restless force or reincarnating poorly. The soul passes through multiple realms, sometimes 12, sometimes more, depending on the lineage. Some are luminous, some are confusing. All reflect the state of your spirit at the time of death. This afterlife isn't linear. It loops, turns, it reflects. You're not being punished. You're being shown. Your life, your thoughts, your attachments. Burn rituals, chants, sky burials, smoke offerings are all about helping the soul orient, to find the way upward toward reunion with the divine source, often called Jungjung Meri or other primal forces of light. The journey is long, but not lonely. It's walked in wind and echo, guided by those who know the sky. Let's step down now, toward valleys where stories grow in mountain shadows. Somewhere in the mist, there's a mountain you can't climb in life. This is the Fengdu Ghost City, or more broadly, the Mountain of the Dead in Chinese folk belief, a layered, winding place where the souls of the dead are judged, tested, and guided to their next form. At death, the soul splits. One part goes to the ancestral tablets, honored by family. The other part, it travels here. There are 10 courts of hell, each run by a judge. Sins are measured, deeds reviewed. Some souls pass quickly, others not so much. If your sins were light, you might pass on to paradise or reincarnation. If not, you face symbolic punishments, crushing, burning, transformation. But even these aren't eternal. They serve a purpose, to teach, to cleanse, to reset. Eventually, your soul drinks Mengpo soup, the broth of forgetting, and steps into a new life, memories wiped clean. The dead don't stay dead here. They move in cycles. Let's take the next path down, where the earth is red, and ancient drums echo in the roots. The land is sacred here, and so is the earth beneath it. In Igbo traditional belief from Nigeria, the afterlife is not a single place, but a system of connections. Spirits return to Allah or Ani, the earth goddess who governs morality, harvest, and ancestry. When someone dies, their chi, personal spirit, journeys back to the ancestral realm, guided by rites and community. If they lived well, honoring kin and tradition, they become part of the lineage of ancestors, still active in village life through dreams, signs, and blessings. But if someone broke Omanala, the moral and cultural code, they might wander, or return as a mumwu, a ghost seeking peace or revenge. There are realms here for warriors, for the aged, even for twins who carry special spiritual weight in Igbo culture. And always spirits remain tied to land and blood. The dead aren't gone. They're roots that still speak, if you listen with care. We now descend even deeper, to one of the first afterlives humans ever imagined. The ancient Sumerians believed that when you died, you went to the great below, no exceptions, no shortcuts. Ruled by Ereshkigal, queen of the underworld, this place was called Irkalla, a dark, silent city of dust and stone. The dead there weren't judged, they weren't tortured, but they weren't celebrated either. They existed in stillness, as shadows, eating clay, drinking stale water. Everyone, king or peasant, went through the same 7 gates, and each time something was taken from you, your clothes, your jewels, your power, until finally you stood naked before Ereshkigal. There was no going back, unless you were a god. The myth of Inanna's descent tells us what happens when a living being tries to visit. She's stripped, humiliated, and trapped, until someone else is sacrificed in her place. This afterlife wasn't about sin or salvation. It was about finality. The end was the end. And yet, even in the silence, the story mattered. The journey mattered. Let's climb now, slowly, from dust and stone, to a realm shaped by fire, song, and spirits. Here in the islands of the Philippines, afterlife beliefs vary across tribes, but they all share one thing. The journey doesn't end at death. It begins. Among the Ifugao, death means crossing the ambit, a river between the worlds. You need a guide, a psychopomp, often an ancestor, to ferry you across. On the other side is Lagud, the land of the dead, where you're reunited with kin. Among the Manobo, the soul is divided. One part stays to protect the family. The other travels, guided by ancestral spirits and rituals. Sometimes it must pass trials, forests of thorns, rivers of fire, bridges that vanish mid-step. But it's not just about reunion or reward. It's about continuation. Your presence matters. The dead aren't passive. They bless harvests, guard the home, whisper in dreams. Burial rituals are precise. because they determine your journey. A wrong step in the funeral can send the soul astray. The dead need guidance, and the living must send them well. Here, the line between realms is thin. A rustling leaf might mean company. A bird call might be someone you knew. Now, let's follow those sounds, across oceans, to a place where spirit flies on wind and sky. We drift now into the forests and mountains of northern Japan, where the Ainu people speak of two worlds, Ainu Mosir, the human world, and Kamui Mosir, the world of the gods. When someone dies, their spirit returns to Kamui Mosir, but only after being properly honored. The journey there isn't a punishment or a test. It's a return, a release. Spirits rejoin the Kamui, divine beings who once loaned them their soul. Life is seen as a kind of divine favor. You're born into this world to live, contribute, and learn. And when it ends, you give that soul back. In Kamui Mosir, it's not heaven or hell. It's harmony, a place of balance where spirits live peacefully among gods, animals, and ancestors without suffering or need. But disrespect the spirit, and it may linger. Rituals are vital, especially the Iamante, a sacred bear-sending ceremony, where the bear's soul is returned to the gods with great honor and celebration. For the Ainu, death is not severance, it's reunion, and respect is everything. Let's follow the wind now, eastward, to a land where ancestor and child may trade places. In Vietnamese tradition, death doesn't end the relationship, it transforms it. The dead join the ancestral realm, a space that's not far away, but right here, in the home, at the altar, inside the family's rhythm. Every house has an ancestral altar, and it's not just for decoration. Food is offered, incense is burned, prayers are whispered, because the dead are still there, watching, helping, guiding. They're not ghosts, they're family. The afterlife isn't defined by punishment or reward, but by remembrance. A soul that's honored thrives. A soul that's forgotten might drift, becoming lonely, restless, or even vengeful. Special days, like Tet or Tan Min, are spent tending graves, offering gifts, and inviting ancestors to visit. There's even belief that the dead can reincarnate within the family line, sometimes returning as a child, a dream, or a blessing. It's not a place, it's a bond, a circle. The dead give advice, the living give respect. Together, the world moves forward. All right, we've already visited Valhalla, where warriors drink and brawl with delight. But what about everyone else? Most people didn't die in battle. Most people died from illness, accidents, or old age. And for them, the Norse afterlife had another destination, Helheim. It lies far below the roots of Yggdrasil, wrapped in mist and silence. Ruled by Hel, daughter of Loki, whose face is half living, half dead. She doesn't torment souls, she simply keeps them. Helheim isn't warm or loud or glorious. It's quiet, the kind of quiet that settles in your bones. There's no banquet here, no songs, no honor earned, but no punishment either, just fog, cold air, and a kind of stillness that feels like waiting without an end. It's not a prison, more like a resting shelf for the ordinary departed, those who weren't heroic, but weren't terrible either. Fishermen, mothers, merchants, most of us. And while the sagas focused on the shining halls of Valhalla, Helheim was far more common, more human. Let's leave the mist now and step into a forest that isn't quite as restful. Branches claw at the sky, leaves crunch underfoot, and somewhere in the distance, a howl that might not be from a wolf. We've entered Nav, the Slavic underworld. It's not underground. It's not in the clouds, it's in the woods. A realm of tangled roots, eternal twilight, and spirits that haven't quite let go. Some say Nav is ruled by Veles, the god of earth and cattle, and also conveniently the underworld. Others say it's unruled, a haunted in-between. The souls here wander. Some are peaceful, just lost. Others are angry, twisted by grief, betrayal, or unfulfilled promises. You might meet ghostly ancestors, or spirits that never were fully human, or something that watches from behind a crooked tree. It's not hell, it's not paradise. It's the feeling you get walking alone through the forest when the wind suddenly stops. But even here, offerings can help. Slavic traditions speak of leaving food, drink, or words at certain places. A quiet peace offering to the other side. Let's keep walking. The forest thins, the air changes, a new rhythm begins. Drums, chants, a voice calling from a different land. From shadowy woods to sacred light, we now arrive in Orun, the Yoruba realm of the ancestors. This is not a static afterlife. It's alive with meaning, connection, and conversation. When someone passes, they don't vanish, they transition. Their spirit, the Emi, continues on, often guiding the living. The Orun is shaped by the Orishas, divine spirits who watch over nature, people, and destiny. They're not distant gods, they're present forces. Your relationship with them in life echoes into Orun. But it's not just about divine judgment. The Yoruba afterlife is also about your Ori, your spiritual head, your inner self. If you lived in alignment with it, your journey continues in peace. If not, the path may be more tangled. This realm isn't limited to one shape. Some say it mirrors Earth. Others say it shines like starlight. But it's always active. You might visit in dreams, hear it in song, feel it in ritual. And when your descendants call your name, light candles or speak to the wind, you are not forgotten. You are near. Now, let's head north, far north, beneath the waterline of a frozen sea. The cold is different here. It doesn't sting. It settles. We've arrived in the Inuit underworld, where the dead drift beneath the ice, under the waves, and into the domain of Sedna, the sea mother with fingers turned into sea creatures. Sedna isn't a punisher, but she is selective. Those who harmed animals, broke taboos, or disrespected life may sink into her realm. They don't burn, they don't scream, they're simply distant, cold, forgotten by the living. They float in a realm where time is measured in cracking ice. Others, those honored by their clans, may go elsewhere. Some say the stars, some say caves within the earth. Some say they become part of the great breath of the world itself. This isn't a land of judgment, but a cycle of connection. The line between life and death isn't hard. It bends, like snow under a boot, like wind across a glacier. And in the silence, you can almost hear the world remembering you. But you know what? Let's leave this hush behind and head toward crashing waves and trees that bloom above the sea. We've wandered through quite the lineup, haven't we? From golden fields and ghostly river crossings to bureaucratic nightmares and swampy forests full of suspicious spirits. 31 different destinations, all imagined to answer the same quiet question. What happens next? Maybe none of them are real. Maybe all of them are, in some way. But even if they're only stories, they've been carried for centuries, whispered by firesides, carved into stone, passed from one dreaming mind to another. And there's a kind of truth in that, even if it's not the kind you can measure. Some afterlives offer peace, some offer punishment, A few just offer dust and darkness, but they all tell us something about what people feared, what they hoped for, and what they found comforting after the lights went out. And maybe that's the real purpose, not to predict the future, but to give the living a way to think about the end without falling apart, to wrap the unknown in story and tuck it gently under the pillow. But for now, you're here, you're warm, you're safe, and very much alive. So close your eyes, let the last of the lantern light flicker out, and if you dream of ferrymen or feather-hearted judges or towering gates covered in glyphs, well, just smile politely, nod once, and keep drifting. Oh, and if you do happen to see Cerberus tonight, toss him a bone and tell him you're just passing through. He's usually quite reasonable. Sleep well.